Hello and welcome to camp. My name is Zero and today's course is on how to safely fight Jason in the Friday the 13th Nintendo game. Friday the 13th is an amazing game that gets a ton of hate. It has so much depth to it, but it really doesn't explain much of anything either, so hopefully this will help make things a little less frustrating if you're having trouble. Now this isn't going to guarantee a win right away. With enough practice you'll start reacting to Jason faster and getting a better idea of what he's going to do next. Before we begin, I've also listed the various weapons and how powerful they are so you can have some idea of how quickly you'll be damaging Jason as you go. Now, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we have is the Day 1 cabin fight. Once you get the hang of this should not be very difficult. One thing to note is that after 7 hits, Jason will flee unless he has 7 bars of health or less, or if you're down to 2 counselors or less. Then he will stay and fight to the death. This can also be done with any counselor. There isn't a difference really between who you have. The faster counselors will move a little faster side to side, but it's not that big of a difference with the faster or slower ones here. So once the fight actually starts, what you'll want to do is when Jason comes and tries to attack, you can dodge by pressing down and right or down and left. And then when he starts backing off, you'll want to hit him a couple times if you can. Usually you can get 2, sometimes 3. And if he's coming in from the side, if you time your dodge right, you can actually be coming out of your dodge right when he finishes his punch, and you can get a hit in on him before he gets out of the way. And that's really all there is to the Day 1 cabin fight. You just keep repeating this until he's dead. So what we have next is the Day 1 path fight. Normally with a path fight you're just going to get in Jason's face and mash away until he either runs or dies, but this is for situations when you're either low on health or you're trying to preserve the health of a counselor that has a better weapon like a machete, an axe, or a torch. One thing to note with this is that it does only work with Mark or Chrissy. The other counselors are either too slow or they can't jump high enough. So what we do is we stand in the corner, wait for Jason to get there, and then we run to the right. Hit him as many times as you can, jump over him, and then make your way to the left. Then you want to hit him as many times as you can again, and just kind of repeat the process going back and forth. Now you do have a couple things to watch out for. One of them is that, where he speeds up and follows you. When he does that, you want to try to hit him with a rock, and he'll throw an axe. You can jump over the axe and keep going. Another thing he does that you just saw there is he will just keep chasing you, and if you don't time your jump right, you are going to take a hit like I did there. There is one other thing to look out for. Sometimes when you jump over Jason, he will actually back up and you'll jump right into him. That's something that doesn't happen very often on Day 1, and there's really not a ton you can do to avoid it, but it is something that you have to be on the lookout for. But basically you just want to keep doing this, try to get him in the pattern where he'll back up as you jump over him and throw the axe like he did there, and that gives you a lot more time to get to the other side and hit him. And there's how you can turn around, hit him, make him throw the axe, and then you jump over it. And basically just keep repeating this until he's dead. So next up is going to be the Day 2 cabin fight. This can be done with any counselor, and it's pretty similar to the Day 1 cabin fight. One thing I've noticed is that I do think Jason will move a little tiny bit faster. On Day 2, I haven't been able to hit him with 3 shots as he backs off as often as I have on Day 1. But he will have 2 speeds as well. He'll move fast and slow. And our goal here is to try to keep him moving slow for as long as possible, because that's a lot easier to deal with. So here he's starting in his fast pattern. You can dodge that with 2 dodges. Try to time your first dodge so you're coming back and you can do another quick one right as he arrives. I've actually had him stuck in this pattern for almost a whole day once before on Day 2, before I learned how to kind of break him out of it. When he's in the slow pattern, you can still do an early dodge and come back and hit him with a rock. That's not too difficult. But see, he moves before you can hit him the 3rd time. So when he gets into this fast pattern, when he backs up there, if you move back and forth like that a couple times, that will usually break him out of the fast pattern and he'll go back into slow. Let's see if we can get him to do that again here. It's not foolproof, but I've found a ton of success getting him to go back into a slow pattern. Let's see if he cooperates now. Well, good, he's staying in the slow. That's what we want him to do. Here we go, fast. Let him loop around again. He'll always follow the same loop pattern. But see there, we did the little shimmy back and forth, and he slowed down again. So that's basically all there is to the Day 2 cabin fight. It's not much different, it's just a matter of keeping him from being in his fast mode. There you go, third time here. Let's see if we break him out again. Nope. Now he doesn't want to do it. There we go. Sometimes you also have to hit him to break him out of it, but you can still, it's not very difficult to dodge once you get the hang of the pattern, or you don't go too early like I just did there. But that is the Day 2 cabin fight. So next up is going to be the Day 2 path fight. The basics of this are going to be very similar to Day 1, where you jump over Jason or under the other side of the screen and get in as many hits on him as possible. Now on Day 2, that's generally going to be about 2 to 3 hits per cycle. He will go into what I call his rage mode more frequently, where he starts to chase after you and he doesn't back off. So if you see him doing that, what you'll want to do is jump partway over his head and then immediately go back in the direction that you jumped from. This is just in case he backs up without throwing an axe, and it prevents you from jumping right into him. Now normally what will happen is he will throw an axe when you jump, so then you can just jump right back over his head and get to the opposite side of the screen, continue your attack, and everything's good. The real threat that we do have to deal with on Day 2 is him backing up and jumping into him, so this method just kind of helps minimize the odds of that happening so you can get out of this without taking a ton of damage. So now let's take a look at the Day 2 path fight. There's the backup we want to try to avoid. Now he's chasing slow, so we can usually safely jump over his head without worry there. He shouldn't back up as much when he's going slow. So now we just go side to side. I like to turn and try to hit him at the last possible second, right before I jump over, just because that seems to... It doesn't fully prevent him from backing up, but I found he does it significantly less if you're hitting him right before he arrives in that corner. So we try to keep him doing this as long as possible. I'm going to try to hit him, just jump over him once to see if I can get him into his fast pattern now. So I want to show how to avoid him when he's actually following you and he's moving fast. There's the backup. That's the whole thing we try to avoid here. He's going slow again. There's another backup. That's why those are so dangerous. They're so hard to avoid, but there, he's fast. We jump over partway. Then we can get around. Another backup, good. So that's kind of how the Day 2 path fight will work. Ideally, you're just going to be able to keep him going like this. Oh, good. And now he's backed off. You can hit him, jump. Oh, right back into it. And then we repeat until he's dead. Now we're going to have the Day 3 cabin fight. For this one, he will always be moving fast, and he'll always attack twice when he gets in front of you. Cabin fights on Day 3 are a lot harder and are generally considered the last resort when you can't let any more of the children die or something like that. If you do get stuck in this kind of a situation, you do have a few options. There is a slow but safer method, or a faster but more risky one. The first option would be to do a double dodge, and then only attack Jason as he backs off. This is the safer of the two, but it does leave you open to more chances of mistiming your dodge and taking a hit that way. Your second option is going to be to dodge right as his hand is in the air like this, or as it's partway down. If you do that right, you'll avoid both of his hits, and then you'll be able to hit him before he can get out of the way. That is a much faster method, but it is a lot harder. You have a very small window in order to get that dodge off correctly. So now we're going to take a closer look at the Day 3 cabin fight, starting with the double dodge method. He'll go back, loop to the right, and come back up. You will miss him sometimes as he's backing off, just because he's moving so fast. That's something it's hard to time, like there. But it is a much easier window to do your dodges here, so this is a much safer method to avoid taking damage yourself. Then we have the more risky of the two options. That's the long dodge. Right as his arm comes up, you get out of the way, and that gives you the chance to attack him right as you're coming out of your dodge and after you've safely avoided his hits. You have a very tight window for this one, so it's incredibly risky, but you'll hit him a lot faster. And that's a closer look at Day 3 cabin fights. Finally, we have the Day 3 path fight. In an ideal world, this method will never be used because you'll have the torch and you'll be damaging Jason faster than he can hurt you if you're on a path, but in case of emergency, there are ways to deal with him without taking any damage yourself. Now, we will be following the same basic formula from Days 1 and 2. Jump over Jason, get in your hit, and then repeat. You will only have time to hit him once generally. Sometimes you can get 2 in, but it's incredibly risky. When you do jump over him, the most important thing to do, and this kind of goes against all natural programming, is you need to stand still for a very, very brief moment. That should keep him from running into you. He'll back off, he'll throw his axe, you can jump over him, and just repeat that as long as you can. If he does end up going into rage mode and starts chasing you, you just want to basically jump, try to avoid him as much as possible, and put enough distance between you and him so you can hit him, and then break him out of his rage and get him back into the easier pattern. Sometimes it can take up to 4 to 5 hits to actually break him out of rage, but when you do, you're in a much better place. And last but not least, we have the Day 3 path fight. Looks like he's going to start the day in rage, which is good. Get a little glimpse of that. You're just trying to jump around, put a little distance between you and him until you can hit him, break him out of it, or sometimes he'll actually just break out of it himself if you get a little close. So the key here is going to be you want to stand very briefly still once you land, and that will generally cause Jason to back away and throw his axe. And you're going to want to try to get this done as long as possible. Usually you're not going to be using rocks, so he's going to be taking a pretty hefty amount of damage here, so you won't have to do this very long. But this is basically just kind of the rhythm or the pattern you want to get into. Jump, throw, stand still, jump, throw. Just do whatever you can to avoid taking that hit, and hopefully he doesn't go into rage. And sometimes he will actually back away without throwing the axe when he's in rage mode. That's when you're primarily going to be taking your hits. Like that. Perfect. He will only do that when he's in rage mode, so you don't have to worry about that if he's just going at the speed he is here and he's not following you. If he does hit you when he's in rage, usually he will go back into the normal pattern. There are times when he just goes absolutely nuts and will not leave you alone. That's very rare though. I think I've only seen it a couple times. So that's usually not something you have to worry about, especially if you're just playing casually. Oh good, here, one more rage mode. And you just get close to him, you don't even have to hit him sometimes, and he'll end up backing out of that. So that is how you handle the Day 3 path fight. And those are all the different ways you can fight Jason, aside from the lake, because you can't fight him there and just get hit as he swims by. If there's anything that needs clarification, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments or find me on Twitch or Twitter, and I'll do my best to answer. I have longer video examples of everything but the Day 3 cabin fight as well, so if that might help, I can definitely share those. I hope this helps you finally beat Jason if you haven't already, or helps you become more consistent against him if you have. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Say bye, Lorelai.